What's up, everyone? I'm Doug Kyed. Welcome to Pat's Chat. I'm here with Michael Hurley. I am in Nashville, Tennessee. Michael is in basements and parts unknown. Michael, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm not in Tennessee, unfortunately, but maybe fortunately.
But am I the only 10 you see?
No. I want to start. Ready, Doug?
Yep.
You've got takes that I know you want to get out, but I just want to start with this.
Itching.
We did a podcast the other day. We're honest people. It was a pretty bad podcast because we were talking about Patriots Titans. We thought Jacoby Brissett was going to play, and now I just want to put this forth to you. Let's say we were doing this post-game podcast right now, and Drake Maye hadn't played. We'd be looking at another tough podcast. So I just want to start by saying, thank goodness Drake Maye played. Thank goodness he gave us something, because that game, outside of Drake Maye, not a whole lot to really sink your teeth into in an enjoyable way.
Yeah, I have a stat for you actually. Right off the jump here. I got to pull it up real quick, but the Patriots net offense had 295 yards.
Yeah. Okay.
Drake Maye rushing plus passing 301 yards. So Drake Maye actually accounted for more yards than the Patriots actually had in this game. Pretty impressive.
Yeah. No, it was I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And we're going to get into, he's not a perfect, fully formed player by any means. His picks were indicative of a rookie playing in the NFL, but the big picture wise, you have no running game. You have no offensive line. You have, I don't know the right adjective to describe the receivers. Not a very good receiving group. I don't want to be overly critical, but whatever. The receivers are not very good. And you have a 22-year-old child just playing like he's playing in the playground for the entire game. And again, we'll get into okay, this needs to be better. But just the fact that I want to frame everything we talk about him today in that picture of just the environment that he's working within. And it's really incredible. It really is ridiculous, but also impressive.
Yeah. So I put something out there on Twitter just a few minutes ago or an hour ago, somewhere around there. Time doesn't matter anymore. The Patriots have 53 players on their roster right now, right? 14 of them have been cut by NFL teams within the past calendar year. So more than a quarter of their players have been cut by other teams within the past calendar year. A 15th, Jeremiah Farms, was on the Patriots practice squad a year ago. And Jalen Hawkins was cut by a team October 27th, 2023. So if you even extend that to the last calendar year plus 16 of the Patriots players. And then beyond that, you've got guys like Del Pettis, who's an undrafted free agent, Marcellus Dial, who was a 6th-round pick. The amount of players on this team who are fringe roster players is pretty incredible right now.
I did the numbers. 16 out of 53 is 30%.
It's a high percentage of players that wouldn't necessarily be on other teams' rosters.
Yeah, that's not good. And we've grown accustomed to watching Bill Belichick build a roster where you have a guy here, a guy there that could fill that description, an overlooked guy, maybe a D lineman no one else valued. A third of your roster being players that nobody else wanted. That's tough.
Yeah, it's just a lot to overcome. So my hot take.
Okay.
And it's kind of dumb, but so Drake Maye is not a fully formed NFL player at this point. He makes rookie mistakes. He's 22 years old. He just turned 22. Devon Gottschall is calling him Josh Allen 2.0. I think that's a good way to put it. Josh Allen was not great his first few years in the league. Clicked for him, became Josh Allen.
Still kind of plays like a 22-year-old though.
Sometimes, for sure. And maybe that will be Drake Maye too. But I think that if you wind up getting Josh Allen out of this draft pick, you're like, hey, that was a good pick.
I think you'd be happy with that.
I kind of, if Drake Maye had played the entire game last week, maybe the Patriots lose that game. Is that crazy to say?
You think you would have thrown it away?
I think it's possible. I think that Drake Maye is a much better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, but
Mm,
there are times, and I'm none of this
mm,
matters. Like the Patriots should be playing Drake Maye, 100.
no, say
His
no.
losses don't matter,
I'd say
but
I'm gonna stop.
yeah.
That's my take on your take. I'd say no because I think back to the Dolphins game. They probably would have won. I think if Drake May played, even with the picks, because there's just so much more positive than negative. That's my take.
And the Patriots were losing when Drake Maye departed the game.
Hmm.
But then also in this game, like they needed Drake. Like I'm not gonna say that Jacoby Brissett would have won this game for the Patriots because they had almost nothing going on, but it's just it's a culmination of bad talent and a rookie quarterback who is making pretty costly mistakes. And ultimately, the great thing is that wins and losses do not matter this season. So,
Yeah,
like looking at things in a overall importance, like you want Drake May out there so that hopefully in 2 years or 1 year or whatever it is, he's not making these mistakes. But like realistically, Drake May was the only reason why the Patriots were in this game, and he was also kind of the reason why they lost this game.
yeah, yeah. The full gamut. I mean, just let's take him out of this game and put Jacoby Brissett in there. They probably lose 24-3.
Against the
Realistically,
Titans,
there's a lot more. Well, they scored 17 points. They didn't score off the first interception. They didn't score off the second interception. So there was no points off the interception. I think the number of drives, if we were to look at possessions for the Patriots, they're the same color on NFL Jesus. So, jeez, way to make it easy for me. They missed a field goal in their first drive. So the Patriots are that color blue. Plays 6, 3, 3, 11, 4, 12, 3, 6, 5, 11, 3. I think there's at least twice as many 3 and outs if Jacoby Brissett's in there, given the way that they couldn't run the ball, given the way that he doesn't really throw the ball downfield. So, yeah, like they obviously, the pick ended the game.
yeah, pick end of the game.
They wouldn't have been there.
The fumble
They
led
wouldn't.
to a touchdown.
The fumble was tough, though. Michael Hasty did a great job falling on that ball with his armpit. Unbelievable fumble recovery effort on that one. No, I'm with you. Like there was a lot to dislike about the performance, and it's a big reason why they lost. But again, he's really the only good player out there. Like it's like saying he's not Shohei Ohtani, but Shohei Ohtani on the Angels was we watched for years and years where it's like, man, what a waste this is, and the team's always going to lose no matter how good he is. That's how today kind of felt, where it's like Drake May is awesome, but this is a really untenable circumstance to function in. So maybe we could quibble over some wins and some losses. But I think ultimately you're getting what you want, right? You're getting the development and
Yeah. Oh,
and
100%.
and if you're one of those fans that is like, well, if you get another top 3 pick, it's not the worst thing in the world, then today was good for you too. So you have your cake and eat it too.
I think they're, at least the last time I looked, they were currently in line to have the number 1 pick in
Yeah.
the 2025 NFL draft, which, I mean, if a team convinces themselves that Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward is worthy of the number 1 overall pick, the Patriots would be in great shape. And like realistically, the Patriots probably win another game, maybe 2 this season, but like I cannot see any more than that. Like if you're not beating the 1-6 Titans, despite how poorly they played in this game and how many times they shot themselves in the foot, then like
Yeah.
I certainly don't think they're going to be favored in a single game for the rest of the season unless the
No.
Buffalo Bills are planning on benching all of their starters in Week 18.
True. Week 18 is a wild card because that's a lot on the line for one team, being the Patriots. But no, like we're done. We have to be done saying the Patriots could win any. Like they have how many games left? They're 2-7. That leaves them with what? 8 games left, right? Do I have that right? I mean, just by virtue of playing 8 games, they'll probably win one. But
Like they beat the Jets. No one expected that.
right. And last year, like they beat the Broncos. Like even bad teams win games. So like just probability wise, you play 8 games, you'll probably win one. But each week as we go through specifically, we're done saying they should win or even have a good chance to win, because there's 3 times this season you've played bottom of the barrel with the Dolphins, with Huntley, with the Jaguars in London when they were about to roll over and die, and today against, I mean, for as bad as the Patriots are, the Titans suck,
Yeah.
and they bullied the Patriots in many ways. So we're done ever being like, oh, like you know how I've been since the beginning. Like, oh, Chicago could be a win. The Rams could be a win. The Colts could be. None of those really, I'm going to say, going into them could be wins. One might be, but you get the point.
It seems as though the Patriots probably are not going to be winning 10 games this season. So bad prediction by you. It's all right.
We were close. We were close though. If they pull off that Seattle win, and then have a whole different game plan week 3 against the Jets, and then don't lose to Huntley, and then don't lose to the Jaguars, and then don't lose to the Titans, you're like 6 or 7 wins deep right now. So I was close.
Really close. So let's talk about Gerard Mayo's comments after the game real quick. He didn't call them soft, but he kind of danced around it a lot. Did you watch his post-game presser?
Nope.
So I took like a extra second to finish what I was writing, and like then that led to me not going downstairs for Gerard Mayo's presser, which I was a little bit disappointed by. Wound up in the locker room, but still. So Mayo was like, run defense or rushing attack was really disappointing. He was like, I'm pretty sure Drake was our leading rusher. I was like, yeah, he was your leading rusher by like 9 times. And then he was saying that run defense was leaky run defense. And those were like, he went, rushing attack was disappointing, run defense was leaky, and then was like, but we made some plays on special teams. So if his definition of a tough football team is someone who can run the ball, stop the run, and defend kicks, like they were one of 3 in that regard. But he did kind of go through that line of being like, we didn't do this, we didn't do this, we did kind of do this. So, and then he actually did use the word soft later in his press conference. He was asked about the Patriots replacing Layden Robinson with DeMontre Jacobs. And he said, we felt we needed to match up with one of their best players. Again, when you watch the film, you're going to see the interior of the pocket at times was, and then he kind of paused and said, soft. So it's not the same as calling the entire football team soft, but he was saying that the play of Michael Jordan, Ben Brown, and Layden Robinson was soft, and that's why they decided to bench Layden Robinson and move Mike Weno to right guard. But I don't know, just kind of interesting that we're kind of going back to that well a little bit.
Yeah, you didn't watch the game on TV. You didn't watch the TV copy like I did. They talked about Jeffrey Simmons about once every 5 seconds because he was just terrorizing the interior. It was a mismatch that makes you feel bad when you watch him against Ben Brown, and it was all game. And for as much as you watch a game like that and you get frustrated by all the flags flying and all the holding penalties, the refs had to call those penalties because it was just like a man amongst boys. So I don't disagree with them. Again, it goes to just their fundamental flaw of not having an offensive line, and Drake Maye kind of being the only antidote they have for it, in that he can just take off and run like with ease. So that's the only. Imagine if they didn't have that in their pocket. I don't know. I don't know how they would have possibly even managed their way through that game. And one other person, again, I want to fill you in on what people at home got that you didn't. The other name that was mentioned just as much as Jeffrey Simmons was Ryan Stonehouse. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
He's the Tennessee Titans punter. He got more screen time today. They had graphics for his hang time. They were like, all right, now it's all in Stonehouse's hands now. Like Stonehouse really had it. The amount of time they talked about Stonehouse, you would have thought he was Joe Namath. He was not. He was the punter for the Titans.
I thought, it was that was gonna be a stretch of a joke, so I'm not even gonna go there. But
fair enough.
Can we talk about Ryan Stonehouse? Certainly outperformed Bryce Baringer in this game.
Yeah, that was a tough one there. But again, no points off that either. So
two shanked punts in that one for Mr. Baringer.
What was the second one? The first one was obvious.
The second one wound up being a 45-yarder, but only because it rolled for a long time.
Oh, that's why I didn't have it in my notes. But when it comes to Mayo, now the drive prior to the game tying drive, I put a quick poll out saying, should they go for 2 if they score?
Yeah.
And I think it was like 75% said yes. It was a 5-minute poll, so maybe not representative of everyone, but then that didn't matter because they had a punt. If Drake Maye hadn't run around for 45 minutes on the game tying touchdown, do you think they might have gone for 2? I don't think they would have.
I tend to think they probably wouldn't have. Yeah.
which is lame.
It's interesting because Gerard was asked about that. Um, he said, Gerard, did his running around and kind of tiredness, it looked like after factor into not going for two there. And Gerard said, I'm not going to get in. I don't want to get into that. It's a good question. I just don't want to get into it now. Which I thought was interesting because he addressed the 2-pointer thing like in his opening statement.
Yeah.
But then he didn't want to address the conditioning aspect of it.
But I don't even think
his brother is the strength and conditioning coach, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
But it's not even like you're saying he's in bad shape. That was
No,
a
I know.
30-second play, and
But
you
I
got to
just don't
get it in.
understand why that was the answer then.
Yeah, because we just learned last week from Aaron Rodgers, you only get 25 seconds, and if you have
Yeah.
motion in complicated plays, you can't get them in time. So
I
that is
don't
a
know if they
weird
had
answer.
I don't know if they had a 2-yard play there.
But I wonder.
Their rushing attack was so bad in the game. They averaged less than a yard per carry for running backs.
Yeah,
And
that's
Drake isn't
hard to do.
like you can't do a 2-yard QB sneak.
No,
Maybe you could do can you do a quarterback draw from the 2-yard line?
no.
So like, do you call a passing play and then hope that Drake can scramble? That's tough to do in the
Tough
red
with
zone.
2 yards. Yeah.
So
but
like, what wide receiver? Like, he usually winds up hitting Ramondre Stevenson on those plays, but you have to like scheme that open. Maybe they didn't have a play for it. I don't know.
yeah, I don't think they're good enough to convert the 2, but I think they should have gone for the 2 if maybe Drake Maye wasn't dying.
Yeah, if it wasn't a 12-second play.
Just because you're 2-6, worst case you end up 2-7, which you ended up being anyway. So
yeah,
it's I don't know. It's the same thing as the Titans kicking the field goal.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing? It's just there's this certain sort of conservatism that's just even you would think younger rookie head coaches might have a little bit more of a I don't know what that word is, like a thirst to just win instead of just playing it safe. But I wish he wasn't totally winded so we could really analyze it, but I don't think they were going to go for it.
I don't think they probably were either. I was selfishly hoping that they didn't, because then that would give me more time to write about the end of the game.
True.
Otherwise, I would have been like straight up screwed. But yeah,
I mean, they wouldn't have even gotten the ball in overtime likely if the Titans didn't fumble on the third down. So it's sort of.
Oh yeah, the Titans were dominating them to open the overtime.
So it would have been a different debate point, I guess, because now it just looks like the interception ended it, when really they were going to score a touchdown. So I don't know. They're a mess. The run defense, I think, should be the number one story. It's just not as sexy as talking about the sexy young quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they allowed 167 yards rushing, I think, something like that.
Pollard and Chestnut had 150 on 33 carries, which is over 4.5 yards a carry.
Right. And then they had 2 runs by wide receivers, and Mason Rudolph scrambled for 19 yards.
Yep. And then you also I'd throw on the penalties there. You had 8 for 58. Not to be outdone, the Titans had 10 for 67, but
At no point during the game did I know what Chestnut's first name was.
Joey.
And I was just, it's got to be Joey, but it's Julius. I learned that afterwards because I was writing about it. But like in the press box, they just kept saying Chestnut. And at no point did I have time to look at my roster to see like, what's this guy's name? So when you're allowing that out of a guy who like most people don't even know what his first name is, just assuming it's Joey Chestnut out there running.
Yeah.
Not a great sign.
I'm going to have to agree to disagree with you on that one. But that's cool. You're allowed to your opinion.
What are you disagreeing about?
His name being Julius.
It's
pretty clearly Joey.
He's out there eating glizzies, but
yeah,
the run defense was terrible.
You also had a missed field goal, which in a game that goes to overtime is a pretty big factor.
It was a 56-yarder, but yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a good 56-yarder.
Yeah,
and that was like there's things you shouldn't ever happen. Like mistakes happen. Obviously, Kendrick Bourne's false start on 3rd and 9.
He just took off.
He just took off. And then what did he do on the next play? He had an 11-yard catch. And then they had a punt. And it's just like, man, there's so many levels to this team being bad that it's hard to sit here after a game and be like, all right, fix X, Y, and Z, and you can be a functional team. Like they are
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P when it comes to things you need to fix. And that's where it's like the Drake Maye being good thing is a nice beacon.
Yeah.
But man, how do you build the castle around it? I don't know.
It's going to take time. I mean, I've said, I think before, like, I think you're looking at 2026 for when this team can actually be like competitive, can potentially wind up with a winning record. I don't think this is like a 2 off season rebuild. I think you're probably going to have another losing record next year, unless May just like puts the entire team on his back, which I don't think is even necessarily possible. And then you're probably looking at 2026 when they might have a winning record, but that's only if they draft and sign well. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, this year's draft, like, I still want to give it time. I don't think that you can judge a draft 9 games in, but Jalen Polk had a penalty and didn't have a catch.
Two
Uh,
penalties, right?
yeah, I think 2
He had an
penalties.
illegal shift and he
Yeah, and a holding
had
penalty. It was a hold.
the hold negated a pretty big
Yeah.
screen pass, if I'm not mistaken.
And then, I mean, Caden Wallace is hurt, but even before that, he wasn't starting on a pretty bad offensive line. Layden Robinson got benched midway through this game. Javon Baker didn't have a catch. There's not like Drake Maye is a huge return, obviously, and you've got to give them some
Well,
credit for that. But it was
no.
also like he was the quarterback that they were taking at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Polk is the one that has to be good because
Yeah.
you kind of just sat there instead of being active and
Well, he traded
aggressive.
back.
Even worse than just sitting there. You really took a laissez-faire attitude. That's a little political science for you. They
Well,
they
French
really,
too.
yeah, it's no big deal. They took a really blasé attitude when it came to that, and that one's where it's like you have so many issues, and you went receiver. If he doesn't pan out, that's going to look bad for the organization. So again, you're right. It's only but we are at the midway point. We could have a conversation about that draft class not exactly looking promising right now, but man, I don't
Wide
know.
receivers in general didn't really show up for this game. Damari Douglas had a drop. I saw someone on Twitter thinking that Kayshon Boutte could have come back for the last interception, but like,
He could have got his hand in there. He could have been an active participant. But any ball, have you noticed this? Because there was another ball to him up the left sideline. It was either in overtime or the fourth quarter, and it was sort of a corner, or maybe it was like sort of a go. But it was overthrown, sort of. And anytime the ball's out of his reach, he kind of just doesn't stop but slows. And I think in this one, it was a bad throw. Obviously, he was on the quarterback, but he could have gotten involved to at least try to break it up and keep the game. It was 1st and 10.
I mean, I think it's possible. I also think the decision to throw that obviously was just poor by Drake. And like overall, Drake is like the reason for optimism for Patriots fans right now. I thought for the most part he was like the only reason why they were moving the ball, like I was saying earlier. But in that situation, you just pick up a first down and you fire it into double coverage deep to Kayshon Boutte. Like I like the idea of taking a shot with Kayshon Boutte because he's been good on deep balls this year, but like that wasn't necessarily the one to take when you're
Yeah.
throwing it to 2 defenders.
Michael Hasty was leaking out to the left side and just had a lot of, it would have been one-on-one in space and you need yards. But I meant to bring this up with Gerard Mayo, if you don't mind, because this is now the 4th game where we can analyze end of first half clock management. It was so cowardly to sit there and let the clock run down before 3rd and 1 because last week they got booed off the field for doing it. And I had no problem with it last week because we saw against Seattle and we saw against what was the second example? Houston, maybe?
Yeah.
Where they tried
Miami, it was something. Yeah, it was early in the season, I feel like.
they tried going for the 90-yard drive with a run, then 2 incomplete passes, gave the ball back,
Maybe
and
the Jets. Yeah.
points came back the other way. I think it was a closer. Either way, you get the point.
Yeah.
So, like, I had no issue last week. This week, it's 3rd and 1. You need a yard. There's like a minute and a half left. The ball's around the 38, I want to say, and you're playing the Titans. This is not even the Seahawks. This is not even Geno Smith. This is Mason Rudolph. So it's like worst case, you hurry to the line, you run the clock, they stop you, they call timeout, you punt the ball away, and then you just have to defend Mason Rudolph. Like they're not going to run the ball on you. I just thought that was like this Mayo lacks. I don't know if it's feel, but I think it's the same as the 2-point conversion where it wasn't even a thought. There's got to be more spirit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just seems to be a passivity to the whole operation where it's like, nah. And that's sort of that makes it tough to watch, but it's got to be tough to play for. It's got to be tough to deal with on the team. And it's just that's now the fourth time they didn't know what to do before halftime.
Yeah, that seems to be a real struggle for whether it's Drake Maye or Alex Van Pelt, or obviously they've got Evan Rothstein in the booth. That's not obvious, but like he's a situation type guy. And yeah, I mean, they drained like, I don't know, like 40 seconds off the clock between second down and third down. And then obviously it doesn't help that Ramondre Stevenson loses a yard on that play.
And then you
But
got the 15-yard punt.
and then a 15-yard punt.
But even then, Tennessee didn't score because you
No.
had literally they got in for field goal range and then it was holding, false start. they didn't score points. So that just shows you how little risk there was in playing aggressively because you gave them the ball at the 48 and they got the ball.
Nothing.
They got the ball quickly to the 35 and didn't score. So it's like that's the piece of crap team you were playing, and you couldn't even try to be aggressive against them. I found that so disappointing.
Another thing that it goes to play calling, and you can quibble with this, but the Patriots on their first 6 first downs called 5 running plays. And it went for 5 yards, 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard, passing play, no gain. And it just kept putting the Patriots in second and third and long situations that they couldn't overcome. And I think that's probably a big why they get off. I was struggling with that. A big reason why they got off to a slow start is because I understand they want to establish the run, but at a certain point early in the game, I do think you have to say like we cannot run the ball. And this has been an issue for the Patriots now for weeks that they cannot run the ball. And I know that you can't just not like completely go away from running the ball, but I think you've got to switch it up a little bit more early in the game when it's pretty obvious that you're not establishing that run.
Yeah, and that didn't stick out to me today. Shame on me because I had taken note of that in past weeks where it's like every drive starter is just running into a wall and setting yourself up for second and long. It's a problem. We know the characters involved or the players involved and the personnel involved, so it's all comprehensive. But have you seen anything out of Alex Van Pelt that screams creative or non-predictable? Because I have not.
No, he's a pretty conservative play caller. Yeah, by the book. Not a lot of like crazy new stuff in there. And like, I mean, on the first drive, they ran the ball for 5 yards. Cool. May scrambled for 26 yards, but then 1 yard. Then May is in 2nd and 9, throws a 4-yard pass to Stevenson. Then he's sacked, and then that's the 56-yard field goal being no good. And obviously, like the sack doesn't help there, but neither did the 1-yard run on 1st and 10 from Tennessee's 39-yard line when May had just shown that he could make some plays with his legs. I don't know. It's another year where every other team seems to be able to like easily gain 10-yard plus plays, and the Patriots just have such a hard time with it. They're just dinking and dunking, and like May is better about it, and he can pick up those 10+ yard plays with his legs, but it's still a real challenge to move the ball through the air with this current wide receiver core.
I have a question for you. How often do you get the Patriots assistant coaches to talk to?
Well, once a week. We get defensive coaches once a week, or every other week. We get defensive coaches every other week and offensive coaches every other week.
Next time you talk to the offensive line coach, I have a question. And it's like a serious one because pass protection was such an issue that I'm wondering how much the focus on that has completely obliterated any practice time in run blocking, in run scheme, because it's bad. Like every single, what did Stevens have? 16 yards today? 16 yards on 10 carries, and every single one of those yards was through his body. Like it
Right.
was taxing, and that's 2 straight weeks where it's like Stevenson didn't look bad himself. He
No.
actually looked like he was running as hard as he could. Um, there's problems there where the protection, like, yeah, it's got holes and leaks, but it's not a disaster. The run game is a disaster.
I think what they did when they so it's tough because so after last week's game, Drake Maye was like, "Oh, what you guys thought was a weakness is actually a strength." Talking about the Patriots' offensive line depth because they used
Oh,
all
that was
three of their backups.
crazy. That line made me sick when he was like tisking all of you. Like, no, not a strength, actually. No. Mm-mm.
No, and like I think he was trying to praise Elliott Wolf in the front office for like finding guys like Ben Brown and Lasita Smith, like these like waiver wire guys or practice squad guys that are usable players, but like you can't call the offensive line a strength. But then like to call it a strength and then the next week change the offensive line combination to where now you're benching Demontre Jacobs, putting Layden Robinson back at right guard and moving Michael Wenu back over to right tackle. It's like you can't call it a strength and then reshuffle it. You got to go with the same combination. And like, but I think what the idea was that Layden Robinson is a better run blocker than Demontre Jacobs is a pass blocker. So they're like, we want to get going in the run. Let's put Layden Robinson back in there. But right now, like Layden Robinson is such a problem as a pass protector, and he's got like penalty issues as well that it didn't even last a half. In the 2-minute drill, they benched Layden Robinson, then have to put Michael Wenu, like shift him back over to guard, put Demontre Jacobs in there at tackle, and then suddenly it's a combination that they haven't been repping all week. And like, yeah, of course they're going to struggle then from that point. So I don't know. Like, I guess I understand the idea of like, let's put Robinson in there because he's a better run blocker. But then when it doesn't work, it's like, well, now you've just kind of screwed yourself. So now what do you do?
Yeah, and then you say they're a strength, then you change it up, and then you come out in post game and say they were soft in the middle. That's just sort of that's just the way it works this year. I think I have news for you. I just found out how to see comments during this.
Oh yeah, you hit
Incredible.
comments.
Yeah, who knew? It was very hidden. It was very difficult. I'm like, where does he get these comments from? I found them.
Any you want to address?
Let's see. I just found them. I got excited. I didn't actually read any, right? I mean, there's one person for Wayne Cram that says that you're happy they lost. I wonder how many. I don't know. Like, I get it. You want the higher pick, and that way, I mean, we assume they would trade it, get more picks, accelerate the rebuild. There's 8 games left. I mean, I guess if you have the luxury of tuning out and not really caring, then but it's going to be tough to watch a team potentially go 2-15.
Yeah, and like by the end of the season, I think it becomes easier. Then you're like, no, Chad Ryland, don't hit the game-winning field goal. That's bad. But this early on, it is tough to be like, no, I want them to lose every game for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
I also think it would be easier if there was an obvious player that you wanted to take. But like, I don't know how good either one of the tackles are. Like, I know people love Travis Hunter, but Travis Hunter is like, he's a really, really cool college player. And the fact that he can play wide receiver and cornerback, but I don't know if he fixes the issue. And I guess it's not a 1-year rebuild anyway. So you just want to add talented players, but
I would want my number 3 overall pick to operate in an offensive system that is functional. And I think that starts with linemen, as boring as that may be. Now, I have one promise to you, Doug. I am not going to chart the tape of any college tackles. I'll watch some highlights. I will not be breaking down game film. I'm going to trust because I don't know. We can talk about this as the year goes on. I want to say the hit rate of tackles taken in the top 10 is pretty high compared to any other position, especially wide receiver or anything like that. So we can probably get into that as the year goes on. But that's the sad thing. That's the thing that we've already done that. And it's tough. Like, this will be 4 out of 3 out of the last 5 years where December's really nothing. That's tough. They should have won a couple more. Like, as bad as this roster is, today was a winnable game. The Dolphins was a winnable game. Jacksonville was a winnable game. and you lost. Like to go 1-2 would be bad enough. To go 0-3 in those games, this team. Is it fair to say they're underperforming? Because I think they are. Like they're better than a 2-win team. A
I don't
little
know if the
bit.
talent is. I don't know if the talent's better than a 2-win
I know,
team.
like big picture, but just if we specify, I
Like
don't know that.
how they've played.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
they left something on the table.
yeah, yeah. They should, but then again, like they probably shouldn't have beat the Jets. They probably shouldn't have beat the Bengals. You know?
But I mean, all that in the picture of like, well, they were good enough to do it then. Couldn't they have done it against a piece of crap team? They should have won today. This was bad.
It
This was
is.
bad.
It's odd how much worse the running game has gotten since the beginning of the season, to the point
Yeah,
where like they cannot run the ball. They cannot move the ball on offense.
yeah,
And I guess like David Andrews is probably one of the prime, like him getting hurt is one of the big reasons why this is happening. But like over the last 3 weeks, they're averaging like the actual running backs are
yeah.
averaging like 2 yards per carry. That's untenable in the NFL.
It's hard to do. It's untenable in Pop Warner. It's untenable in college. I'm just looking at like this week we know that Stevenson had 16 yards, Hasty had 0, and Gibson had -1. So that comes out to 15 rushing yards from your running back. Last week you had Stevenson with 48, and we thought that was bad.
Right.
And that was infinitely better than this week. So I don't know. Like I watched a lot of football today of other teams with functional offenses, and it's stark. This game, the Titans Patriots game, almost looked like it was in slow motion at times.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like minor league.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong when I say they've underperformed, but it just feels. It just feels. I don't know, they don't have to be the worst team in the league. As bad as they
No.
are, they could be the 5th worst team in the league, which maybe I'm splitting hairs, but I don't
Let's
know.
we're gonna get out here in like 5-10 minutes, something like that. Let's quickly go over some ups and downs.
Okay.
Ups were hard to come by. Jelani Tavai was an up for me. He made like enough plays to be an up overall. He probably had some bad plays I wasn't seeing as well. Beyond that, like Christian Gonzalez did okay against Calvin Ridley, and Drake Maye overall was like the entire offense.
Yeah.
So he could almost go in the up and down category. But was there like anyone else that you were thinking was an up?
Marcus Jones,
For the
both as a
punt
returner,
returns. Yeah.
and he absolutely hit sticked Pollard on that
Yeah,
on
he
that
did.
pitch
That's
to the
true.
right. So he makes my ups. Definitely not that many. Even like the pick. Again, you talk about like all
Oh,
the
yeah.
like
Aquanko
made
just
mistakes.
tipped
Well, I
it.
mean, the pass was awful. Like
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph sucks, and he threw 2 touchdowns on that defense today. So, another up. No, that's all I got.
Yeah. I mean, they like special teams forced 2 fumbles. They didn't recover either one, but I
Yeah,
guess that would go in there. And then
I mean, like Keon White was active. He looked very active. I don't know that he lands in the up or
got
pro.
another horse collar tackle, a horse collar penalty, and then on another tackle, actually like had his hand on the back of the guy's shoulder pads and like didn't tackle him by that. But I was like, he's got to stop doing that.
Yeah. All right. Doesn't make the ups. Fine.
Um, Downs, Jalen Polk, no catches, 2 penalties. Yeah, you can't have it.
Yeah.
Ben Brown struggled. Layden Robinson, pressure, penalty, benched. That's going to go in the down category.
Yeah. I got Jonathan Jones getting cooked by Westbrook Kinney for the touchdown.
Yeah. And then just overall, like run defense and run blocking would go in the down category as well, I feel like.
I mean,
Which is kind of like, oh, the entire team is in the down category at that point, basically.
Yeah. How do you like Pop Douglas trying his best though? 35 yards on 9 targets.
Yeah.
With 7 receptions. That's he did lose a 12-yarder on the aforementioned Polk hold, but
and he had a long of 21. So outside of the 21-yard catch, he had 6 catches for 14 yards.
Yeah. That's hard to do. Again, that's I mean, count that to the running game, I guess, but man, that is difficult to do. Yeah, Sly missed a kick, Behringer was bad.
Kendrick Bourne had a penalty. Like Hunter Henry, I guess, is just perpetually like one of the better players on offense, but he doesn't really do anything spectacular most weeks.
Didn't catch that jump ball, but I'm gonna give him a pass on that. But yeah, not really an inspiring game from anyone.
No, and other than Drake Maye, who
Of
once
course,
again
that
you could put on
goes without saying.
the ups and downs category because like he turned the ball over 3 times, like it happened.
And like the first pick, like I've seen that happen to Tom Brady, where you lose track of the robber. Whether they're, I mean, that one was in front of him. He probably should have seen it, but it was a good play. Like
Right.
it was a tip your hat kind of moment, and he will probably learn. The second one, it's harder to say that. I know Bourne slipped, which kind of freed up the safety to only care about one player, but just the situation of it being first down, of knowing a pick ends the game, of not needing it all in one chunk. It was sort of a Leroy Jenkins type of interception that maybe you just have to live with that as a young player, but I don't know.
The Marte Mapu clip that you posted on Twitter. I know people can't like watch it as we're talking about this, but just scroll down Michael F. Hurley's Twitter account.
Yeah.
Marte Mapu, like he decided to tackle the blocker rather than the runner. It was just, and like then Tony Pollard was like forced to like block him almost into Mason Rudolph.
Right.
Weird play.
The man with the ball was running, and Mapu just veered off to the right. Like,
yeah.
So even in Rudolph points, like block him, and Mapu's like, oh, I guess I'm going to get blocked now.
Right.
As opposed to being like, I'm going to hit the man with the ball. Now, I know he can't give up the sideline, but he also can because it's Mason Rudolph. He's not going anywhere. So
yeah, like maybe the angle made that look worse or something. Maybe we'll see on like all 22. But yeah, that looked like a weird play.
Mapu basically made himself a defenseless receiver, like getting popped over the middle. It was not great.
The penalty that was originally called on Jalen Hawkins.
I don't know why they picked that up. Why did they pick that up?
If they didn't, I think the Patriots executives that were sitting behind me would have actually like taken the elevator down to field level and like punt Free in the face because they were furious when that penalty was thrown. Honestly, I mean, it was shoulder into chest. And
it was just so late. He was down on his knees, and the ball was gone. And you could see
the ball wasn't gone when he started. In that situation, it's like, do you just let him catch the ball?
You could see on replay too. Like he goes and he's ready to hit. The ball goes away. His body kind of stops, and he goes square, and then he decides to hit anyway. Like it was textbook to me. I don't know how or why they picked that up.
I don't know. I think it was personally because like the ball was still in the air. Like Ridley was still trying to catch it, and then he hits him. I don't know. I guess it was defenseless, but like
it was.
I don't know. It wasn't a helmet to helmet shot. He didn't lead with his head. He just hit him square in the chest. It's a football play. I don't know.
I disagree, but didn't really end up mattering. I thought it was dumb to do. How about that? Whether the call stuck or not. May also, when was it? It was the punt drive before the game tying one. Pop Douglas was open deep, and he missed him. He overthrew him. The replay did show it was kind of a late break into that corner route.
Yeah,
it was sort of so like May threw it before Douglas had even broken on the corner. Right. So it's kind of a timing feel chemistry thing.
Yeah, he overthrown by a significant amount on that.
Yeah, that was too bad. But again, when you're the entire offense and you're 22, you're going to miss some plays out there.
I think overall, the lesson here is that like Patriots fans have reason to be excited about Drake Maye. He's shown enough this season where I hate to say it, but probably in 2016, like he could be leading them to perhaps the playoffs, but that also entails building up around him because he can't do it on his own. That's what we're watching this year. And even when he gets better, he's still not going to be able to do it completely on his own.
Yeah. Well, I guess just let's close on one maybe question, comment, statement. The game tying touchdown. I made a noise just because when it came out,
I haven't talked about that yet. Yeah.
Well, because like when it came out, you're like, all right, and then all of a sudden it's just caught sort of with ease. It was a funny, cool play.
It was insane. He held the ball for 12 seconds, running around, evading tackles, trying to find someone.
Did you watch the dots?
No.
The dots are fun because like Booty runs like a quarter mile, Henry runs like a quarter. The left guard, his name is Michael Jordan.
Yep.
He didn't do a single thing on that play. But I said in a tweet, he got an A on the group project because it didn't matter. But that was fun. Like, and again, to bring it back to where I started, imagine if Drake Maye didn't play this game, what this conversation would have been like.
Yeah.
Dreary.
It's very true. Thank God he played. Drake Maye seemed to think they didn't have a concussion. He said that when they tested him in the blue tent during the Jets game, there was a piece of metal on the ground, and it was like the balance test that he failed. And he said that he didn't think that anyone could have passed the balance test.
Because he had like spikes on a metal.
Because he had spikes on and he was walking on like metal or something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They should fix
that.
They
should fix that. I mean, it seemed all week from comments that like no one seemed to think that Drake actually had a concussion, and it explains why he was able to pass through protocol so quickly.
Yeah, that is interesting. And again, they did win that game that he got taken out of. Yes. So I guess all's well that ends well. Yeah, he didn't play like a guy coming off a concussion either. He played like his helmet came off 3 times today. He should fix the straps. Like he got hit once, it came off. He got it ripped off once on like a tackle, and then there was a third time where he just fell hard and his helmet came off. And it's like, buddy, we gotta fix that thing.
Yeah. All right, Drake, fix your helmet. Everyone was listening. Rate, review, subscribe, do all those fun things. I'm gonna get dinner. Michael's gonna drink some chocolate milk and go to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Caleb Williams next week.
Caleb Williams versus Drake Maye. Winnable game?
No. But maybe some entertaining moments, and it'll be fun.
All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.